Welcome to World Mission Topics, Lesson 10. I do not own the rights to this music. Today's topic is the insubordinate servant. The lesson text is coming out of 2 Samuel chapter 18, verses 9 through 17, verse 33, chapter 19, verses 1 through 8, and that's 2 Samuel chapter 19, verses 1 through 8. Proverbs chapter 19, verses 10 through 12. The memory verse: Curse not the king, no, not in thy thought, and curse not the rich in thy bedchamber. For a bird of the air shall carry the voice, and that which hath wings shall tell the matter. Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 20. The key terms for today's lesson: cops, hooptitat, insubordinate. Cops, a thicket, grove, or growth of small trees. Hooptitat, the violent overthrow or alteration of an existing government by a small group. Insubordinate, not submissive to authority, disobedient or rebellious. King David's eldest son, Absalom, harbored envy and recrimination in his heart for 4 years after his return to the palace, after the exile imposed because he murdered his half-brother Amnon. The prince was carefully plotting a coup d'etat against his father. Finally, at the culmination of his scheming, he asked the king for leave to visit Hebron on the pretense of religious duty. Instead, the plan was to be declared king there by the group of conspirators, and then to spread the news throughout Israel. Absalom had cultivated relationships throughout the realm, and once he made a claim to the throne, large numbers gathered to his side. David and an entourage of faithful servants fled Jerusalem ahead of Absalom's triumphal re-entry into the city. From a vantage point across the Jordan River, with precious time bought by the royal advisor Hushai's misleading counsel to Absalom in 2 Samuel 17, verse 14, David marshaled his forces to engage the rebel army in 2 Samuel chapter 18, verse 1. However, the father instructed his generals to restrain from hurting his rebellious son in 2 Samuel 18, verse 5. This set the parameters of a looming conflict between David and his chief lieutenant Joab. Emphasis 1. Ignoring the king's wishes. By providence, David's men completely routed the rebels. Absalom himself had to flee into a forest. As he was riding his mule through a dense copse to escape his father's warriors, Absalom tried to ride under a low-hanging thicket and got his hair tangled in the brush. He was so snarled that his mule rolled out from beneath him, leaving him suspended in the air. And that's 2 Samuel chapter 18, verse 9. Trapped as he was, Absalom was spotted by a soldier, who reported the matter to Joab. The general upbraided the man for not striking down their enemy on the spot. He told the man that in his fecklessness, he forfeited a substantial reward for killing Absalom. However, the soldier defended his inaction by reminding Joab that the king had straightly charged them to spare Absalom. Moreover, he remarked that if I had betrayed the king by killing his son, and the king would certainly find out who did it, you yourself would be the first to abandon me. And that's 2 Samuel 18, verse 13. The soldier's candor irritated the general. I will not waste time here with you, he told the man, and that's 2 Samuel 18, verse 14, and hurried to where the prince was still trapped in the copse. Joab launched 3 spears into Absalom's torso. Then his armor-bearers followed behind and finished off the rebel, and that's 2 Samuel 18, verse 15. Emphasis 2. Upbraiding the king's show of grief. Soon enough, King David learned of Absalom's death, and his grief was extravagant. The king was deeply moved and went up to the chamber over the gate and wept. And thus he said as he walked, O my son Absalom, my son, Absalom, would I had died instead of you, O Absalom, my son, And that's 2 Samuel 18, verse 33. What was initially regarded as a great victory by the David's warriors turned painfully awkward and uncomfortable. The soldiers crept back to the loyalist camp, shamefaced like deserters. For this reason, David's public mourning precipitated a confrontation with Joab. On hearing about the king's stupor, his lieutenant came to his residence to challenge him. "We saved your life today and the lives of your sons, your daughters, and your wives and concubines," Joab scolded. "Yet you act like this, making us feel ashamed of ourselves." And that's 2 Samuel 19, verse 5. He said David couldn't tell his friends from his enemies. Then he demanded the king go out and congratulate the soldiers that won him the victory. "For I swear by the Lord that if you don't go out, not a single one of them will remain here tonight." Emphasis 3. Unseemly for a servant to rule his master. Joab was emboldened to defy the express command of his leader, and then even to castigate him. The protocols of their relationship were disintegrating. Regardless of the relative merits of his decisions to slay Absalom and to confront David, the general was proverbially poking a bear when he routinely resorted to insubordination. An immediate repercussion was that David replaced him as the captain of the host in 2 Samuel chapter 19, verse 13. In the end, their conflict would even cost Joab his life. It is just unseemly to give the impression that a servant is ruling over his master. We should not openly disrespect the people we serve. We may have to address an ill-advised directive or a poor decision by a leader, but we rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father. And that's 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 1. There is an orderly and respectful way to express our differences of opinion, and ultimately we have to accept the appropriateness of leaders having the authority to make the final decisions. Missions application questions. Number 1. What might have been the arguments pro and con for killing Absalom? Number 2. Why did Joab rebuke David about his mourning for Absalom? What was wrong with Joab's approach? Number 3. What should a follower do if he discovers leadership is engaged in unscrupulous behavior? World Missions Prayer Points. Let us pray for the discretion to entreat a leader rather than rebuke him. Let us pray for the courage to resign a position rather than stay and be insubordinate. And let us thank God for the grace He continually shows us and for the opportunities He gives us to show grace to others. The end. God bless you and thank you for joining me today.